Lots
Homework?
of stuff, yeah.
All right. I like your title. Turn in your homework.
Well, I wasn't here last month to do it, so.
Not going to make it tonight, maybe I can meet with you later this week. All right, let's get going for tonight. Lost one already.
Yeah, you weren't fast enough, I guess.
Okay, my packet of stuff.
Oh, we supposed to sign in?
You're supposed to have a name tag, probably people don't know.
I did pick up my name tag, but I did not sign in.
I don't mind if I take my shoes off, do you?
It's your house.
Okay.
Let me take ours off too.
Okay, knock yourself out.
Take mine off too. We're all doing taking our shoes off.
Get comfy, get comfy.
I'll
Take
make-
your shoes
All
off.
except for Louise because she's got
I got
Crocs
comfy
on.
shoes
Crocs.
already.
Comfy, comfy. My problem is when I walk in those sandals, I always feel like they're gonna fall off, so I always have to do that with the toe thing, it's irritating. All right, well, let me give you an update on this weekend's activity that I want to thank Kathy for telling me about Oakaville Original Mineral Springs Hotel.
Original Springs Hotel.
Original Springs Hotel in Oakaville, Illinois. Just right outside Scott Air Force Base. Took Nancy there for her 50th birthday anniversary, or not anniversary, but 50th birthday. And turned out okay. She's kind of scared first night because it's kind of spooky. 130 some
Well,
odd
it is
year.
technically haunted. too.
Yeah, and technically after we read the history, because it's like, I want some history to know about this stuff. There's all kind of stuff I'll not say on the camera, but there's other history there too that
Yes.
I'll tell you off camera. But I was like, wow, that'd be nice to know before we got here. But anyhow, we stayed there. There was no hauntings last night, at least where we were. We didn't go looking for any. So night turned out great. Morning had our mineral bath and massage. Went and saw potential cars. It's all good. All good. Shopped on the way back at St. Clair Mall. It was good. All good. But she is looking for you. She looked.
Sure.
I said, I didn't talk to that cat.
Why?
I'll let her tell you herself. I don't know.
Well, you can give her my number.
Yes, she listen. So anyway, she's a comedian right now. Yes, she's a comedian. So thank you, because it worked well. It wrapped up a whole nice week of activities for her. So it worked out well. Today we're going to talk about private money and how to get it, how to secure it, and then we're going to talk a little bit about properties, property valuation, and leases and so forth, because we're progressing on down the road. And I had you at the last minute bring in 4 properties that you would propose to me. Now, it shouldn't have been a shock to you because we should always be looking for properties to find properties. And you've been like, oh, I only have to pick 4. So that's just to shock your system. Anyway, look at the very end of your paperwork where it says money lender. Money lender, cash qualified money, traditional or Roth IRA. This is a letter of intent.
Wait a minute, where is
Where
it?
are you? We're not quite sure what.
No
you are.
problem, there's a
Hold on
stack of
minute.
papers that I gave you.
All
It's gonna be toward the bottom of the stack of papers.
What's
You need the stack of
What's it
papers?
say at the top?
Headache Free Properties LLC.
Oh, I got it, I
Yep.
got it.
Right there. Here's what it looks like. It's like 4 pages long. I will email this out to you. One day, this week, Kayla's supposed to put all you guys in this new program, Trulio or something, where we can all communicate at the same time, and I can post documents, and you guys can pull them down and look at them and respond to me and all this stuff. But anyway, So this is a letter of intent. A letter of intent says, I plan to make money available to you. Our goal is to create a private bank for you. Okay? Now, look at this form right here. The one with the little people at the top, you in the middle, bottom.
That's
Right after
the third
the
page.
dinner.
That's
Third
the
page.
third page.
I didn't staple mine together, so they're all in.
Well, yeah, if they're in the order.
Because I know they'd be
Yeah, but
interchanged.
My
it's the
third
third
page
page.
doesn't have pictures.
Keep looking until you find one that has pictures. That looks like this. Keep looking at the top stack. There it is. It's gonna be in there. What this is showing is that you can create your own private bank. Our goal here is to create a buy and hold strategy. So what you're gonna do, you need to have the number of houses that we talked about before. If you're talking about a $500 a month cash flow, and you need $6,000 worth of income, you need 12 houses, correct? So in order to buy 12 houses, and at roughly between $25,000 and $40,000 per house, you're gonna need around $480,000 or less. So unless you have $480,000 tucked away in your pillowcase, you may have to get a loan or some partnership in order to make this happen. So the idea is to find an individual who wants to get a great return on their money, and we're gonna talk about what is a reasonable rate of return. And that person is going to want to invest in you, well, not really in you, in the property that you're saying that you want to have into your portfolio. And they're gonna lend you the money secured by a deed of trust and a promissory note, and your intention to pay them off once you get a renter in the house that can make them monthly payments. Right now, they can probably get 2% return on their money at the bank. IRA, maybe on a 5-year return. I don't know, I don't keep up with that, but it's definitely not 3%.
It's terrible,
It is definitely not 3%, for sure.
whatever it is.
Yes, whatever it is, it's not 3%. So 8 to 10 to 12, I think would be a great return that they could bank on, and still leaves you room in order to operate and to do what you need to do and to pay your house off in 7 years or less. And it's a win-win situation. They're secured by your property, and there's a renter inside of it making the payment each month. And you didn't have to go to the bank and ask them to go through their 2-week or 3-week, board and say yes or no, and all, we don't buy in that area and all that stuff. So it's a great partnership that you can create. So this document that you see, the 4-page one that I referred to first, talks about, and it was a legitimate legal document that was prepared by a doctor who was going to give me $100,000 years ago. So I know he spent good money on this, and it is very legal in the state of Missouri. Because it was his intent to enter in. Originally, he said he wanted 10%, and before I knew it, it crept up to 20%. And he had some other stipulations that we ended up not doing business together. But this is what it states. It talks about how the joint venture will work. It talks about the terms of the repayment, the collateral securing the payment, and then other documents that need to come. But basically, it's I intend to give you X number of dollars. This would be a document that we would want to have someone enter into with you once we invite them to a meeting that we're going to have. Once they get their questions answered, we would have them sign a document basically stating, I intend to give you this kind of cash. Or you can have this amount of money at disposal. You may not get it all at one time. Most generally, they are only going to transfer over as much money as they need in order to make that transaction happen for you, and they keep it still working in the market where it's located. And as you need more, they transfer more over. Okay, does it make sense? Any questions on that part? Okay. Equity trust and in trust are some of the, yes?
If you borrow the money and you buy the house and you put a renter in there, and you're paying them back with that money, and then it goes empty, do you just tell them what was back the payments up, or how does that work when you?
Haven't got there yet. Good question. Hold on to that.
All right.
These are two forms of literature that you can get right off website, they have great information. Trust and equity trust both have good documents that you can pull off or direct your people to that will tell them how to open up an account, how to get started. Many of the people in here already know how to do that, but tell them it's a very simplified process. You don't get paid for referring them. No one gets compensated for that. I mean, really, it's a transactional basis, the way that the self-directed company gets paid, or they get paid on money under management. One of the two ways typically is how they will charge for their fee structure. Now, question you just asked, how do they get paid? The rest of the remaining forms, a good chunk of them, 2 or 3 of them, I just have examples of promissory notes that I've used in the past. And just pick the $10,000 ones, Rhino Homes, promises to pay. You can still kind of see through the fade through there on the name. Anyway, I brought $10,000. On this one, it's just a straight simple interest note. A lot of those I did is just plain simple interest. And then what you would do is divide by the number of months that I had the money out. Because it's usually a 1-year note. So if I had, it's a $10,000 note with 13% simple interest, so I would pay $1,300 for the year for the whole use of that money. So then you divide it out month by month, $1,300 divided by 12, gives you a little bit more than $100. That's what it was costing me every month to borrow his $10,000. I didn't make monthly payments to him. Generally in mine it says, notes matures 3 months from above date or on the closing sale of the property, whichever occurs first. Now, as you can see, you don't know how these are written, but as I progressively got smarter and smarter in the business, I didn't slam my spot into, oh, I'm going to pay this note off in 3 months, because things can happen. You know, and I've already committed to paying him his money back when I may not even be finished with rehab, I don't have it rented or whatnot. So in this situation, I don't remember the property, but sometimes I was buying a property and I just needed to have the money to purchase it, and I was refinancing it and I was getting the full amount of money from the bank or whatnot. Sometimes I would borrow the money and I had the fixed money on top of the loan, so I would take the fixed money out and pay that person off because I already had their money to begin the project. Who knows why? Or I was just dumb and told the guy to give his money back in 90 days and found out that wasn't a good idea later on. So that was just one situation where it's just plain simple interest. There are 2 different ways, obviously, you can figure interest. It's compound interest and simple interest. Simple interest is obviously the best way for you. Simple interest says that you're borrowing a set number of dollars and you're going to figure what is the interest rate on that, and you're going to divide that up over the 12 months, and you pay that off. On compound interest, it's at the end of this month, you figure out if it's 10%, 12%, or whatever, and you've got the principal that you're supposed to pay back plus the interest, and then next month you add on top of that the interest that you would have paid on this month plus the interest payment, and it keeps getting larger and larger and larger. Most investors obviously want the compound interest. When you talk to them, generally you can kind of throw out 2 different ways. If you want to have your money invested longer, for a long period of time, you'll do the compound interest. If you just want it for 1 year, 2 years, or less, it's typically just simple interest. You control that. It all is just dependent upon what they want. Also, you get obviously a lower interest rate, non-compounded wise, by just doing a simple interest rate. You pay 12%, but 12% simple interest is different than 12% compounded interest. Am I losing you, Kathy? You got me?
No, I'm listening.
Yeah, I'm listening. Okay, so questions? Louise, you got it? You on it? Okay.
I wouldn't know how to figure compound interest, but don't you just do an amortization table?
Yeah, you just put it into a nice little handy dandy financial calculator, which you're gonna need to know how to operate one or go on the internet anyway. If you're gonna borrow money from somebody and you're putting the pay down, you know, it's on a 12-year note, I mean, a 7-year note or less, or 50-month note, you figure it out, put it in here, and it'll tell you what your payment is.
I
Okay?
have one of those, those are
So, as long as you can figure it out, and work it backwards, because you're going to, most everyone in here, as we buy property, we're gonna look at, do I put 100% of my money into a deal and I buy the first 4 or 5 properties and let those pay themselves off, and then I gradually buy 1 or 2 more per year as that money is used to buy the property and then I buy free. So for example, you buy 5 properties, and let's assume that they're accumulating $500 net a month. So every month you're getting 5 times 5, $2,500 a month. So how many months does it take for your $2,500 to accumulate before you can buy a property free and clear with that money that it generated? So if you had enough money to buy the 5 properties, and you don't want to go into debt, then that may be a process that you use. You have the 5 properties you purchased, every 10 months you're able to buy a property. 10 months later you're able to buy another property, 10 months later you're able to buy another property, and they're all free and clear at that point. So that is one technique. Or you can say, I've got half enough money to buy half the properties I need. I'm gonna pay cash for the properties in the beginning, knowing that the bank says, I will give you 50% of your money back after 6 months of it being rented. For example, you purchased a property at $50,000. You renovated it, you're all in at 50. You put a renter in at $800 a month. Okay, 6 months later, December 31st, you go to the bank and go, can I get some of my cash out of this property? And they're gonna say, yes, you can, but you can only get half of your money out. So they're gonna give you $25,000 back. And now you're 50% into the property and they're 50% into the property. Okay? Now that's kind of the best scenario right now that I know of. Some may give you more, but I don't think so. And there's gonna be, all of them have some sort of seasoning process with it, 6 months to a year typically. And they generally won't give you appraised value, they're gonna give you purchase price plus fix it. And you may be able to get appraised value if they say that's part of the rules on the front side going in. One of those 2 ways is generally what they'll allow. So, what you're doing is leveraging your money, getting 50% of your money into a property and 50% with the bank. As well as leveraging that with non-recourse money if you're using any type of form of qualified money. Whether it be traditional money or IRA Roth money. Have you looked into that, Ms. Kathy? Did you write yourself a note then? I know.
I
Kansas
thought about Kansas City, and I thought about Googling it,
Okay,
but I did not.
okay. Anyone else look into it by any chance?
I'm already in insurance, is that what you're saying?
No.
It's where you partner your qualified money with a bank that lends to your entity that is qualified money also. It's called non-recourse lending. It means you personally can't sign for the money. It's going to make a loan with your qualified money. Say you've got $50,000 of IRA money and you need another $50,000 of somebody's money. The somebody's money is the bank that says, I'm gonna lend on the property, and they're gonna put both of the $50,000 together and purchase a property for $100,000. But you can't personally sign for the property.
Okay.
So you'd have to sign your company name.
When did we talk about
Is that what you're saying?
No, you can't sign at all.
Oh,
Because
so the bank
your
just
your
owns-
Roth IRA or your traditional money is the owner. So the
Oh,
equity
okay.
trust company or whoever's gonna sign for you or for on your behalf,
So you have to use a company to sign for you with your money.
The custodian.
custodian. Because you can't personally guarantee the deed. So basically what non-recourse says is that the value of the property is what the loan is guaranteed against. If they don't think they can get their money out of it based just on the property, they're not gonna lend money. Because their only recourse is the property. They can't come after you.
Mhm.
Okay? Now, the private money piece, as we're walking closer and closer down to the deal, becomes more and more important, depending on how many properties you need to purchase and how much money you have in your pocket. As we get farther down the process, we've talked about having people, inviting them here. There's a video, not video, but PowerPoint presentation that we have that kind of walks them through what equity, trust, or interest is gonna tell them. This is the basic structure, how a deal would work. You know, walks through, set up the account, transfer the money, title company's going to record every information, the deed of trust is gonna be created, the promissory note will be created. It'll be sent back to the custodian will sign it, and they'll, of course, record the deed of trust. And then once it comes back from the government entity, it goes back to the custodian who holds it as part of their official documents with a note and so forth in your portfolio. So to sell it or whatnot, they execute it and get it back to the title company and all that stuff. So anyway, that is the process on the private money. Now let's talk about percentages, yes.
When you're doing qualified money and all that, in other words, you're not signing for anything, your entity is, do you have to go to closings or anything?
No,
It's even nicer. Keep going.
yes. Because you're not you.
I know, I'm not me. I love this. I love not being me.
You can go, but you're not gonna sign it.
You're just
Just to
gonna
make
watch.
sure that, yeah, that everything happens the way it happens. You get keys and closing and all that, so eventually you have to get the key.
But they will give me the keys? But don't
'Cause
I just
at
have?
that point, you will be you.
But don't I have to then give them to a manager? Because I'm not allowed to manage the property?
But that's not really managing, you're just, it's a fine line in some aspect. You're not gonna go in and rehab the property, you can't pay yourself to rehab. But there's certain things that you have that you can be responsible to do.
Well, we'll find
You
that
can
out.
write the
When
checks.
we cross that bridge.
Correct.
We'll deal with that.
You can pick the rehabber, you can, do all those type of things, choose it that you can't pay them, pays, done by custodian and so forth. All right, now, questions about how much to pay for the money. Those are questions usually people come up with. So, how much money are you going to pay for the use of somebody else's money? What do you think is reasonable or right? How much would you pay?
Whatever it takes if you have a good deal. Some people pay really high percentages because it's a really good deal and they're gonna make money in the end, so they don't care how much interest is. At least that's what I've heard people at, Life and Area say.
Right.
Don't like the high percent stock Sean said, if it's a good deal.
But wasn't that
But-
talking about hard money?
Oh, yeah, that's what I was remembering, you're right.
Well, I mean, you basically ask them what they like on their money and see if you might undershoot what you thinking.
That's good, that's what was written in the handout.
What if they overshoot what you're saying? They say, I want 25%.
And then you gotta say, well, we
Find
need to
somebody
negotiate
else.
that.
Do business with somebody else.
Then you go get a hard money lender because they're cheaper.
Yeah, right, right.
My
8
very,
to 12 is what you said 5 minutes ago.
I believe my very first deal was 33% return on his money.
Oh my gosh.
But then you trained him to that.
Did you make money? Well,
But then you trained him to that, so then he wouldn't be satisfied with less, would he?
The new deal was an enticement for both people. He was coming to see if I was for real, and I wanted to see what he would commit. The first deal was only $9,000 that I was borrowing. So the payback was like $3,000 on it or whatever. And I forget how many months it was or whatever. So he came over, this is a doctor and an IT guy, the first two investors, well not the first two, but the substantial ones in my business. The first investor I had was a kid, 19 or so years old. You know Matt at Mr. Goodlooks at the Southside Investment Club?
Mhm.
He was one of my first investors. He loaned me like $7,000. He was a really young kid. And his parents said, he can do what he wants to do. You know, I was there, I was selling insurance at that time. And I was telling him about the big deal, and he said, yeah, I would wanna do that. It was on Merrimack, 3806 or 4 or something, Merrimack. And he was the first investor I had, real young guy. And paid him off, and it worked out well, and I think he did one more time or whatnot, but he was one of the first investors. When I needed big, quick, high dollar money, there's a doctor and an IT guy. And they came over basically to see, I think, did I really own a house? Did I really have a house that they were investing in? Because they ripped off some cabinets off the kitchen wall and didn't do a whole lot of stuff. And I said, okay, yeah, we'll be back. They never came back. I finished up rehab and stuff. But it was the beginning of a relationship. You know, 33% interest, and I told him, you know, this can't go on forever, but this is one that you can see. And he liked it because the volume he was able to do. I mean, obviously you could recognize I was doing several different properties. Back then, I was doing 7 to 13 properties at a time. So, I mean, there was more than enough for them to be rolling in. They had generally about $120,000 out to me at any one time, you know, over several different projects. And it was generally $8,000 to $12,000 they were loaning me, the down payment that I needed to take to the bank, the 10 to 20% that I had to take in. So they were constantly loaning. They were on different properties. Some were coming in, some were going out. And they would just keep reinvesting their funds back into the projects. And over time, we settled probably around 15 to 18% was what it was. And they were generally 6-month obligations. I would be in and out of it generally within 6 months. And they were happy with that return. Because it was pretty much guaranteed.
So that was simple interest over the 6 months, so it wasn't annualized, it was simple, generally?
It was generally simple interest, then it went into compound interest. You know, because I had their money just all the time, so. And it figured, you know, it's compound, but it was only for 3 or 4 months. So
Right.
they just figured it out. But there's all different ways, depending on what the person is interested in. Some people want a monthly payment, so you set it up as a monthly payment, but most people just want the return of their money. You know, that's their primary issue is, can you return my money? Then once you've done this a couple of times, you know, which yours is not flipping. So the fear of them lending you money, a lot of that decreases because you're not trying to anticipate when you're gonna flip money and they want it back in 6 months. You're telling them right off the bat, this is a 36-month to 84-month commitment. What you're getting is 2% now. How would you like to trade that in for 8% guarantee over the next 5 years? I mean, that's a whole different question. You know, so you're not going to be talking to the super duper investor because they're like, well, I can get 20% now. Like the person came the other day, I get 13%. You're getting 13%. Your money's in the stock market. You're not guaranteed you're going to get a return. You know, your money is probably just coming back from when it crashed last time, and you're just back to the point where it was before it went down.
Right, if they sat down and added it up and subtracted it, you're talking about even.
Right, that's what really happened.
I
It-
scared myself by looking at 5 years of back returns of in stock market. I didn't pay attention to it at all, and then when I looked at it, like one quarter I'm down $80,000, and next quarter I'm up $50,000, but that's really only 30 because I was down 80. And it's like, oh my God, thank God I wasn't looking at this stuff.
Because
And-
what most people do, when it
and-
goes down,
and
they
now-
take their money out.
And now it's on its way to Entrust.
Yes. That is a very, very good thing, because most people do exactly opposite of what they're told to do, which is
Right.
put more money in when the market goes down and take it out when the market goes up. They won't do that. People will not take it out when it's up. So then what happens when the market goes down? I'm thinking we're about due for one of those
I
down
think
dips.
so too, that's why.
And it's a great time to be talking about how would you like to lock in, and you can't promise returns, you can't promise interest rates, you can only come to an agreement, okay? And when you want to talk with the individuals, it's business to business. They need to create a business entity if they're gonna loan money to you out of their pocket. Okay, we're not talking qualified money, we're talking about, he just has $50,000 sitting around. Technically, the best way to do that is have them create an LLC and they lend to your LLC. In the state of Missouri, there's no usury laws against business to business lending, okay? Meaning 1, 2, 3 LLC, lends to ABC LLC, and the interest rate is 15%, it's okay, because I think Missouri is like 13%, is a usury law or whatever, 13-14%. But that's the difference. No multiple or pooling of investments on property either. One person lends money, pays for the entire amount. Now, you can have a first and a second. First amount secures the purchase price, and the second would be the fix. You can do something like that. Okay, you have to identify your first position, your second position. The notes and deeds go for it. Okay, I think that was that. Pay off when you pay off. You need to hold it more than 1 year in order to make it be passive income. You're not actively trading, you're not a rehabber, which that's the intent of everybody here anyway. If not, set up 2 different accounts. One's your active trading and the other is your long-term passive income.
What do you mean 2 different accounts?
2 different LLC companies. Long-term rental property LLC, flipping property LLC. Properties that you're gonna have maybe 3 months or less, you're trying to make money, make profit on, you're buying it, rehabbing it, flipping it, is separate than your rental investment.
Why is it important to have 2 entities?
You're taxed differently. One is an active tax, which means you're gonna pay the normal tax that you would pay based on the dollars. It's like your with a W-2 income, you're gonna pay tax on that, as opposed to rental, you're taxed on a passive income.
How do you
State.
stay organized then if you have?
Thank you, that was one of my
businesses?
questions.
You basically have to sell it from one to the other, right? No?
It's 2 separate sets of books. You just do.
Have to keep 2 separate books.
That's a different class. Yes.
And some people keep.
You have
3 or
different
4.
checking accounts, like I got multiple checking accounts.
So
And
you have to open another, like I have a checking account now for Stanley Solutions, but now I have to open another one for
Correct,
rehab or whatever.
correct.
It's a
And
lot.
you, yeah,
It's a lot to manage. No wonder people have virtual assistants.
that's why you have CPA that deals in real estate in that arena. They'll help you with that, what to do and how to track it. And you have people like Matt, Good Books Accounting. He comes in every now and then, about every quarter, and does all my books, keep all my checking accounts and all that stuff. He comes in, enters all my stuff, so at the end of the year, all I gotta do is give my disc to the CPA. And it's got it all separated, coded right, makes it really simple.
What program, do you use QuickBooks?
He uses QuickBooks. Actually, he uses his system now. He comes into my house, logs onto his system at his house, because I wouldn't keep updating QuickBooks, so. Yeah, that's what he says. Tim, the best way to do this, I'll just log into my system from your house, enters it all in his house, and he creates a disk. That's how it works out. Okay.
Is he an entering guy or is he an accountant?
He's an entering guy. He just does bookkeeping. So he's like $35
He,
an hour.
he
as opposed to
organizes your
$75.
stuff for the CPA.
He's $35 an hour. He's half price of a CPA.
You
just
throw
keep your
everything in a
receipts
box and
then
hand it to him and he'll get it right.
No, I just, yes, you can keep your receipt. You have the your check register. He enters it off the check register, and I keep my checking account and stuff in a book.
Oh.
Goes back, enters it in.
So you don't use a credit card for your business, you just use,
I use debit card. Same difference. You still get the statement that shows where you charge everything, Home Depot, this and that. It all comes out on your check register.
do you have to say everything you bought, or do you just have to say supplies?
It says applies to property, applies to property.
They'll attach purchase orders to your orders at Lowe's and Home Depot or wherever.
Haven't got that.
You can just
far
write
yet.
the name of the property on the receipt and throw it in a box.
You got your check register. Your check register, you write it, does everyone still use a check register?
No.
Y'all do that like my kids. I look online and see how much money's there and check off, no. Check registers, you have to reconcile your accounts every month.
No,
I do it that way.
You got 3 heads saying no.
But it's all electronic now.
I
You
do
can
it
just go
that
in there and
way. I
reconcile
still
off
do
of your.
it the old way.
Yeah, me too.
Why can't you just
That's a
reconcile
lot
off your
of
account?
paper, believe me, 'cause I
And then
got
you know
all-
what
I
you've
got
written
two
out of your
accounts with
checks.
Two
That's how I
entities,
do.
and it's more paper than I
Hey,
wanna even look.
Y'all do it any way you want. I'm just sharing with you how I do it, how I
Well,
keep it tracked. You can do it whether you
I
want.
recently went to Office Max and I was thinking of buying a single, like a mobile file cabinet. Cause thinking, if I'm only gonna have a maximum of 24 buy and hold properties, that it should probably fit into something about this big.
Yes, should.
But I need two now in case, because even though I have my goal of 24 buy and holds, I need another one for the fix and flips.
You know, you guys really make me remember stuff that I've already forgotten, so that's good. That's why this is all here. But yes, I'll show you some of the files that I keep and how I keep them, and how I kept it separate and do that. But yeah, there's, you know, different ones over there flipping, and then you've got your rentals. What do you keep in the files, and what don't you keep in the files, and all the good stuff, but yes. Your CPA has to know, because there's a difference in what you call the very same expense in rehab versus rental. When you do a roof on your rental property, you don't do the whole roof. You do half the roof one year, half the roof the next year, because it's a repair. If you do a replace, you have to do the whole roof. Then it is, you have to expense it over the life of the roof, which is 25 years or whatever.
But you mean you actually do half the roof?
Yes.
Just on plastic on the other half.
For the other half of the year. Now, what I'm saying is, sometimes it's a repair, sometimes it's a repair, and sometimes it's a capital improvement. But if you do it in a rehab, it's all part of your cost of goods sold. It all goes into the cost basis of your property. So it's this stuff beyond, don't even worry about that right now.
No, I gotta worry about finishing the tasks I've been set to.
That's right. All that matters right now is get your money, let's go find a property, and that's it.
My
But you-
money's coming back next week.
You're who?
My money,
Okay,
they'll be back on Monday, and then hopefully we'll get everything set up.
good. See, the thing is, if I tell you more stuff than you worry about, then you're like.
I worry,
Then
worry.
your turtle stories get bigger and bigger. Your kitty cat stories get bigger and bigger. We don't even wanna talk about that. Let's just get a property, get it accumulated, get some cash flow coming in, and we'll move on down the road. Because what led me to learn how to do the Roth and IRA was because I had a tax bill of $24,000 one year. That's why I was like, oh, wait a minute, we gotta learn some different techniques.
This is not good.
This is not good. So that's how I discovered how you can buy inside your Roth and IRA and divert some of the taxes, not divert, but you just eliminate some of the taxes you need to pay. That's just too much money to pay.
But in my case, whatever my regular IRA makes, I can take out whenever I want.
And pay tax on it when you take it out.
Right.
Right. There is a way that you could do it. I mean, you can't convert it and all that stuff, but you can set it up where it, you know, and take it out later at no tax.
You mean if I convert it all to a Roth?
Right.
Well, that's a huge tax bill.
Right. I wouldn't suggest that, but,
No.
you know, you can grow, say you've got 200,000, you grew it to 500,000. Who cares if you gotta pay a little tax on it when you take it out? It grew, income tax free.
Correct.
You take it out and you control when to take it out. And then you transfer that to your kids and
That's later.
their tax burden. Anyway, done with money. Now, let's talk about some deals. Switching gears. Deals. We need to start beating up some wholesalers and getting properties. Would we agree? Mike is out there buying left and right. I'm supposed to go look at some of the properties tomorrow, and he says he's buying 2 or 3 here, 2 or 3 there. He already has about 6 already.
Crazy.
So he's got
Wild.
a ton of properties. He's got a property manager in line, so that's our next piece too, especially Louise. You start asking
I
those
just went
questions.
down to the door and it said open till 5 and it was 4:15 and they weren't there. And I tried once before. I'll try again Thursday.
I'm debating if
And
we
I'll
even
call.
go that route.
Oh,
But-
okay, sorry.
Um, property managers have to be good in North County and North City that you're going to be screening. You can bring in and talk, you go on the Southside Investment Group, you can go RIA groups, wherever, meetup groups, wherever, start inquiring about property managers. These are some of the requirements you're looking for in a property manager. What is your vacancy rate? Which means how do they keep people listed? Are you familiar with City Section 8 and County Section 8? Have you ever turned in a packet? Can I view my statement anytime I want to, as long as I have internet access?
I'm not sure if it's good or not. Wait a minute, have you ever sent in a packet?
Is that about section 8?
Section 8. There's
And then
city
what
and
was the-
county.
Yeah, what was the next question?
Can I access my account at any time as long as I have internet access? That's pretty common. I mean, now they can pretty much email you the report anyway, but there are some,
Is it working?
there's usually like two really big property management software that people use. RentRight, and there's another one I can't think of, but you can access anywhere you are. You can see what repairs they did, jobs that they've got outstanding, money that they deposited in your account. Another thing is, can they do direct deposit to your account? Pretty basic, but you need to know that. And then I want to know 3 out-of-state investors that I can talk to, because your out-of-state investors are the ones that would get the poorest customer service because they can't reach out and strangle you. Okay? And then the other question is, how many properties do you manage? For me, you need at least 300 in order to even be legit to even cover your cost as an individual person. And then you're gonna ask, how do you handle maintenance calls? Do you have a call-in line? And then how do you dispatch maintenance? And then you guys will decide how you want to handle that with them. Sometimes you may have your own preferred people that you're going to use. You might have your own HVA person, HVAC, you may have your own plumber, you may have an electrician. Doesn't matter. Sometimes they don't let you do that, sometimes they do.
So ballpark, I've heard 10%
Yes,
of the rent.
yes. And I've heard as high
Going down though.
as 12%.
Who?
I've heard as high as 12%.
I've
Somebody
heard-
was charging 15%.
I've heard as low as 6.
Yeah, I'm not hearing on the low side. Yeah, that's pretty much 10. Because it depends also if they nickel and dime you on every process too. That's another question. Is this a flat fee, or do you charge me, every time you gotta do something? Definitely you wanna know what the renewal fee is. If they sign somebody, they haven't moved out, they didn't do anything, all they did was went over there and had them sign a new lease. Generally, they ask for half the month's rent, typically.
What do you mean half a month's rent?
If you're receiving $800 a month for that property, they'll charge you $400 to renew the lease. First month's lease is automatically. If they place a person in your property and it's $800 a month, they're gonna charge you first month's rent typically. It's $800. So they get the first month's rent and you get security deposit. You used to get 3 months, first, last, and security. That's not happening. Nobody has that kind of cash. Renter wise, that I've seen in the last couple of years. And sometimes I'll lower my security deposit too. I lower because I hate the hassle at the end of when it's all said and done. Usually I lower mine $300, $400. That's what it costs to repaint the place and clean the place. I put an automatic cleaning charge in my lease of $150 typically, and then painting and some other stuff. So if they want to paint it, clean it, and leave it, they get their money back, which typically they don't. They clean it and leave, they may get some back, but usually they don't. So then I don't have to keep a whole lot, I mean, you're supposed to keep it in a separate account, but all that good stuff. So, that's your property manager, and then the other thing is, how do they go about screening their tenants? Do they use an outside service, or do they just use their own techniques? Most of them use a screening service. And of course, check them out on the Better Business Bureau to see if they've got any complaints. If you haven't been sued once or twice by property management, resident, you're probably not too tough on collecting. They're gonna sue you. Tenants get mad because you kicked them out because they didn't pay.
That makes sense.
It just, so, you're gonna have some complaints.
So what was that you said about Section 8 at the beginning?
Have they turned in a Section 8 packet or not? City and county,
So that's their job to do that?
yes. I will probably show you the process going through one time, how to screen people, how to do this, how to do that, and take you through how to do a packet, just so you know and you're familiar with it. But that would be the last time. You don't wanna do that. You just wanna make sure that your property managers know how to do it. And I'm only having you go through it just because I want you to know. That's how I different than a lot of people. They'll say, you know, just do this, but I like to know myself when I'm doing something. Even if I just do it once. I wanna know what's the process, how you do it. I don't know. Contractors tell you stuff and try to get over on you. You know, drywallers come in and say, oh, that's gonna take like 3 days, and it's like, no, it's not. You know, it takes 1 day or whatever. And that affects your timing too, and cost and so forth. You just get a sense of what it is. You'll get an idea of what the problem is and the pain of all of the times you're setting up, meeting people at the house. They don't show, they do show, they come late. You'll learn, have everybody meet at the same time, maybe stagger them 15 minutes, but you're only gonna be there an hour. They're late, they're late. Call them the day before, or you definitely set it up. Are you a person of your word? Will you show up? Will you bring what you need to bring? You know, pay stubs, this, that, and the other. Oh yeah, sure. You'll get 3 out of 10 that'll show up. So you're there wasting time, you know, and with nothing to do. You're just there waiting. So when they come, and it also when you have them all come together, it always makes an, you know, anxious. Oh, I better move on this property because there's lots of people looking. So anyway, that just kind of helps.
And then 1 out of the 3 will bring everything they need.
Oh yeah. And you'll like one over the other. You'll hear their story. There's always a story. My question is, why are you moving from your house? Section 8, they're moving for a reason. Most people don't move. You want to know what that story is. That's going to be the difference between whether you want to rent to them or not. While we're on that vein, Section 8, it generally takes 60 days to get up and running before you get your first check, more like 90 days. But they do catch you up. Once you're in their system, it's great. 9 months later, they'll come out for a re-inspection, and generally it's walking through, turn the water on, flush the toilet, turn the lights on, turn the lights off, walk inside, walk outside, you're good to go. Renew you for the next year. Used to get a 5% or so cost of living adjustment. I think they lost 5% this year, but it's consistent money. Sometimes it's not worth getting the market rate or above market rate when you know you're guaranteed to get your money, especially if you're paying a loan. You want to make sure you're guaranteed getting the money, especially the first 5 properties you get. I put them all in Section 8 if possible. Guaranteed to pay your note off. That's what I used to do.
So can you tell your property manager you only want it on Section 8?
Yes. And you have to buy a property that is going to rent to Section 8, so that's in an area, and sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't, depending on where we're buying and what we're buying. Some is $400 a month, grandma spots, you know, North City, whatever. Some people only want to be in the city, and you can do to some of the disabled, Agencies, Paraquat, I use them quite a bit, they're great. And sometimes I use a third-party payee for a person who is on fixed income and they can't pay their own bills. I set them up through a third-party administrator, and they pay their rent and their gas and their electric for them. Whatever's left over, their check, they send back to the client. That's a beautiful program because you always get paid. Works really, really well.
So they get their whatever check, their
So,
disability
so
check or
disability,
whatever
social
it
security
is.
for $800, your $350 for rent comes out, their $100 for electric, their $100 for gas, and then they send them the rest of the money to them in a gift card or check or
Their
whatnot.
cigarette money.
Cigarette money, TV and cable money, phone money. And you live the rest of the month on that. They start calling you about the 25th day. Hey, can I get a loan? Can I do this and do that? You know, just have, I don't know how close you are to your tenants, but I get those calls. Hey, I need some help. Can I get a loan? Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Anyway. That's screening of the people, screening of your property managers. It shouldn't take them longer than 30 days to locate a person, and it's gonna take about 30 days to put them in. Time you get inspections, pass your inspections, get your re-inspection, then you're gonna get the pink slip, then you can let them move in, not let them move in before you get the pink slip. And the slip is not pink, but that's what they call it. Okay? Once you do that, you set up your receiving, how you're gonna receive the cash, who's receiving the cash, because in most qualified money, you're not gonna get the check. The check from the property manager, the property manager has to know who to send it to. Okay? Once that's done, you're just on trying to find the next property. Questions? All right, we didn't talk about how much money to pay the investors. But somewhere between 8 to 12%, 8 to 15% is reasonable. Lower the better. Now let's talk deals. Who brought deals? And who did not bring deals? And other deals we have, let's talk about some that are fix and flip and some that are just straight rental. And where they are and what you're looking at and what are our ideal property we're looking for. And then I'll give you our picture or comps or fix. Who was at the Life and Air? Did Sean ever email out all that stuff he said he was gonna email to us? Like the fix sheet, the estimated sheet, I'm gonna do. Lucy's got part of it too, like that one that the guy sends you, Louise, all detailed out.
Mhm.
You know, here's the comps, here's the picture, here's the estimated fix. He does put a nice package
Scope of
together,
work.
scope of work. We don't need to get that detailed now, but we do need, what are the taxes on the property? What's the estimated insurance cost on it? You should have a broker call you. What are comps in the area? And I'm talking sold comps, not pending prices of property. Sold comps in the area that make sense. So that when you look at the deal, you need to be able to determine, what am I gonna do with this? If it's a rental property, am I paying too much for this property? Have other people bought properties lower than that? What is the fix on it? If there's somebody already living in the property, generally your fix is very minimal because obviously it's got occupancy permit. Not that it can't be trashed out, they've been living there for years and years and years, and it hasn't been 20 years since they had somebody go through and see what's safe and not safe. But still, even then, generally, if somebody's living there, you got $3,000 or $4,000 worth of fix and that's it. And it's more painting, carpet, comfort items than functional items. If it's been vacant for a long time, then you can get some more items that you just don't know. It may look good, but it may not be good once you turn the system on, electric, sewer, and all that stuff. But those are the items we need to start getting. We need to start hitting up our wholesalers because we need to have them start calling. Now, I felt today for the first time, it's like I finally got people that's giving me information. I'm getting information at the RIAs when I go that, you know, and you gotta put it out there that you're an investor and if you're buying properties and you have cash, they will call you. I mean, for Jeremy to call me today, it was great. It was finally, it's like, okay, we got some people calling. I got 2 calls this week. I got another call from Kelly. See, and I tell people, remember, buy the junk nobody else wants to buy. At least tell them you buy that stuff. You might find something great. Kelly called me with a 2,400 square foot house it's down there by the TWA Dome. It's in that area where McKee is buying up property. I mean, it was like the only building in the block. It's not around it. But he said his mother lived there. Something happened to her. He's trying to sell the property. Kelly didn't want it. She called me. She goes, I heard you buy stuff in the city. It looks like it's in a nice enough spot. I don't know anything else about it. She said he just wants to get out of it. So I don't know, look at it. Like I said, Jeremy called me today with 4 properties, bad area, but I don't know what they look like. You know, he said, I got these thrown in the package deal with the house. I wanted this house, but the other one kind of just thrown in. He said, don't be embarrassed. What did he say? Something along, don't be embarrassed to give me a low offer or something along the line. It was, so he knows that you're gonna lowball him crazy, because anything you offer is just gravy. I'm sure if he wasn't even planning on doing anything, he's still got to get rid of it.
Yeah.
So it's gonna cost him more money to get rid of it. So, $2,000, $3,000, who knows? They're in a rough area. Dr. Martin Luther King and Goodfellow, Thecla, any of those, Ridge, I mean, y'all don't even have any idea. They are not hot spots.
But the question is, financially, can you get somebody in there on Section 8 and it's not gonna burn down, or what's,
Probably not a Section 8 area. It's more of the grandma $400 market, but you're talking, you shouldn't be into it more than $5,000. So, you can get $450, $500 a month for them. That's great. Hit and miss when they're gonna pay, not pay.
You got your money back in a year plus.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so you just have it insured real well.
Yeah, I always have insurance.
But I mean, there's some, and the good thing is it's not too many blocks away from a church that, I mean, when you drive through there, it's just a total night and day change. I mean, it's like there's a subdivision in the middle of the city. So it's not too far from there, but it's far enough that it doesn't quite encompass that area yet. So I don't know, I'll go see what it is. I got told about a 2-family that a woman just wants to get rid of. Henry told me about it, right over by the cemetery on West Florissant and Riverview. 2-family for $15,000. I mean, each $5,000 work, that's $20,000. So if you rent each side out for $500, say it's $1,000. So 20 months you broke even. So I mean, those deals like that, just like, you need to go look at least see what it's about. But people don't want to go to those areas. And, to me, Riverview, West Florissant, not that bad.
Yeah.
It's not, to me. So, anyway, start capturing properties. Like I said, get the comps on them. Go by snap pictures. Some you need to start tracking. My brother also called me on 2 short sale properties in St. Charles. They should be around $75,000, selling for $130,000. So those are in the right price. One is the person just wants to sell the property at $75,000. The other one is thinks we can get the short sale at $75,000. So that's with Bank of America. So that may be hard to do. But the more you talk about, the more you throw out your business cards. Just tell people you're buying. And then you gotta start burning a little gas and go out. This is the point where we got to go out. Money's transferring, it's gonna be there, yours already there, you're getting some, so it's like, hey, let's go. If you don't have it, you better start lining up your private money, tell them the story, put your package together, go off the internet, put a nice little package together, here's how you can be a private lender. Don't have any interest rates or anything in it, just information for them, so they can go online and look. Or they just have cash. People got $20,000, $30,000 sitting around like, I'm getting 2% on my IRA. I mean, on my, CDs. So, that's it. Now, talked about, you have your,